right, that's easy then. Okay, so we've obviously got Ross Sardi, CEO of First Focus. I'm Brendan, obviously Ritchie. No, you don't know, it's not obviously. Brendan Ritchie, Chief Growth Officer at First Focus. You are, of
So
course,
it's Brendan and
Ross.
Brendan Ross got it.
And Spencer, I was saying...
Double click, save.
Nice. I was saying to Ross earlier that when I'm from New Zealand, like most people who live on the Gold Coast, and when I first turned up to the Gold Coast, I remember you and Will Anderson were the voice of my mornings on Triple J.
Yes.
So that's my reference point for you.
Yeah, the Gold Coast in the early 2000s.
Mate, it was chaos.
Hello.
Absolute chaos.
A miracle you're still here to tell the stories.
One of the few of the people in my rugby scene from that period that are still there. The rest had to
Sure.
leave. But yeah. All right, cool. So how did you get involved in this? How did you get roped into the keynote, and what can we expect tomorrow?
So, given my nerdy maths background,
Very nerdy, love it.
That's naturally parlayed into always having an interest on science and the applications of science and technology, etc. And because I can chat a little bit,
Just a little.
I do a fair bit of work these days as a conference and event MC.
Yeah.
And the gigs I get tend to skew more towards
The nerds.
the techie, nerdy
Yeah,
stuff, cybersecurity, your big Telstra tech events, this sort of thing. So IT Nation and ConnectWise reached out and said they were thinking of having an MC for the Sydney event. So MC'd this morning's keynote session, and I'm doing a keynote of my own tomorrow on the GPT revolution.
All right, let's talk about that then.
Yeah, I mean, that's as a maths aficionado. AI behind the scenes is really a lot of maths and statistics and models and
And what's really interesting, it is absolutely. I mean, the algorithms and seeing how fine-tuning the algorithms and getting them right can make such a difference. Everyone knows the example of when Google went for the Gemini, AI summary to replace web search, and you got that famous example of someone saying the topping keeps sliding off my pizza, and the algorithm responded with, well, glue the topping to the pizza, comma, make sure you use a non-toxic glue so you don't hurt anyone, full stop. And I think they actually managed to go back through Reddit and find the actual subthread on which someone, jokingly wrote that as an answer.
Right.
Now, obviously, the algorithm's gone searching. It's found that, and maybe because the way the original question was asked, the grammar and the punctuation's been exactly, it's found that and gone, that's the answer, and just
assumed it as knowledge, right?
clearly elevated it far too much up the data set than it should have. But when you get these things right, and what we're doing now in terms of image generation, making video and all that from just the prompts of a spaceship falling through a waterfall or whatever, it's incredible how powerful these algorithms have become, so much more beyond what we probably thought they could. The way we've realised coding's just a language.
Yeah.
And the way it's revolutionising the way people are doing code. And the really interesting thing with maths is, I did some stuff with a guy called Geordie Williamson at the University of Sydney, literally one of the best mathematicians in the world, in that band of as good as anyone. And he's doing work with probably more of your traditional neural network,
Right.
deep mind, the thing that broke chess type AIs.
Yeah.
But he's seeing in approaching really difficult mathematical problems, the AI is making some real input into increasing his understanding of these, which is interesting because we thought for a long time, I think, it's not surprising these things can work out a game like chess or write a really good poem.
Yeah.
They won't be able to help with our understanding of cutting-edge pure mathematics. Well, there's interesting early signs in that direction.
Didn't Google maybe a month or two back start putting out a prize for people who could actually give a solid use case for quantum computing? Like, is that where this is going? Like, is that...
Well, that's a different strand. Quantum coming on will be, its own revolutionary thing. And then when quantum pairs up with these technologies, it'll be quite amazing. Okay. The better one is, so they did a great one recently. The same deep mind guys created something called alpha geometry. And what alpha geometry was actually, from what I understand, one of their old-fashioned sort of neural networks, the sort of thing that looked at chess and just broke the game eventually and plays a better game of chess even than any computers we've ever designed. But they teamed it up with a GPT, right? And in the same way, when a brilliant, they gave it questions out of the International Maths Olympiad. It's the hardest maths problems in the world for 18-year-old kids at this big competition. And within all the sort of problems they give there, geometry is hard. Right. Because with geometry, the answer's not out there. You've got to look at the image and have a crazy thought of, okay, if I put another dot out there, I could make a triangle. Maybe that could, and then you've got to drill down and calculate within your crazy idea. If the triangle doesn't work out, okay, what if I drew two parallel lines there and measured the distance? Okay, then drill down in your crazy idea. And put simply, the GPT was coming up with the crazy ideas from having found other geometry questions online where people had crazy ideas. then the traditional neural network was trying to calculate and bash out whether the crazy idea would work or not. That's remarkably similar to how a human brain works when you're trying to solve that problem. Crazy idea, logic. Then try and smash it out. No, another crazy idea, try and smash it out. That crazy idea got closer, so maybe the crazy idea I'm looking for is a bit closer. Crazy idea, smash, wow, I've got it.
Yeah.
Really interesting parallels.
And the more experience, the better your guesses become. It's very similar, right?
And so the big question for me with this sort of stuff is that, so we talk a lot about the importance of having a human in the loop. Keep a human in the loop as much as possible with these AI decision-making. Have a human there signing, and that's totally cool at the moment. I don't think it's inconceivable that in 5 years, 10, 20 years, you've got systems making decisions so complicated, so far beyond the reach of humans understanding them, that having a human in the loop will be about as helpful as having a cat in the loop at the moment. If we come out, if there was some algorithm that managed the power supply to your really big, complicated building or plant, and it worked out a way and suddenly you were just using 30% less power, even though you really didn't understand what it was doing or what, you're still going to use it, I think. You're just hoping that it's not out the back.
In the mix.
Just burning pussycats or whatever. I mean, because if you take the chess analogy again, when this thing, so DeepMind was this program that taught itself to play chess. It was given just the rules of chess. It played a game, looked at the result, played another game, looked at the result, played another game, and just machine learning, reinforcement learning improved its performance. It played 5 million games against itself, parallel versions of itself, in the space of about 4 hours. So these games are only seconds long, right?
Yeah.
After 5 million games, it was playing at a level where it destroyed the best dedicated chess computer engine any humans had ever. So when it starts, right, it's told just the rules of chess. So at its first game, it knows nothing. And you watch its performance and it potters along for a while, gets a bit better, then drops off, gets a bit, and just when they're starting to think, maybe it's not going to work, and then it just goes, whoosh, and off it goes. Now, after about a couple of hours or whatever, it gets to roughly the level where humans play, or where our very best computers we've designed play. They're comparable. They're in this sort of band. It's quite conceivable before this experiment that we pretty much play chess as well as you can. Maybe this model will just plateau at where we're at. This reinforcement learning algorithm caught our level, looked at us, laughed, and then just sped off, watching us disappear in the rearview mirror, right? Now, maybe it's the same. Maybe my mate who's doing this mathematics with these things at the moment and can still hang in there and understand what they're saying, maybe in 10 years they're producing proofs that he cannot follow, but he's confident they're true.
So I'm actually talking a little bit tomorrow here at the event around technology acceptance and adoption, that kind of stuff. I mean, I was an interesting conversation a couple of days ago with a friend who was talking about the invention of the elevator and how you had the person sitting on there for the idea of that it's safe. I mean, how do you see
the people in the elevator managing the elevators were there for decades after they were needed.
Yeah. So, I mean, technology acceptance of AI, I mean, societal impact. I mean,
that's exactly where I was going to go. It's like, it's the classic question, jobs, it's...
all these things. And all these things are really complicated. And anyone who suggests it's going to be unanimously bad or good, I think you're simplifying things.
Absolutely.
And it's going to be, as it is with a lot of technology, it's going to be a bit of both.
Yeah.
The problems with these things will be pronounced. The misinformation, disinformation. The potential to morph some school kid's head onto a pornographic image and bully them and that sort of horror stuff. The attempts to just get in and skew whiff elections at the moment. And the fascinating thing about the misinformation they're uncovering around the upcoming US presidential election, a significant portion of it's being done by an actor who's not trying to pick a winner. They don't actually care who wins.
It's just...
They want it to be close enough and chaotic enough that whoever loses, 20% of them are keen to head on down to the Capitol and have a bit of a chat.
It's destabilization, right? It's
totally.
It's not backing a party. It's undermining the fabric
that
of
sort
society.
of stuff is really difficult. But some of the upside here is amazing. Now, I read about a device in beta testing in the States that was a wearable that was predicting heart attacks up to 3 weeks before they happen. Right? Because if you think about it, you don't just rock along fully fit and go, no, fuck it, I might have a heart attack. But you always hear people saying, should have noticed the signs, was a bit short of breath, hadn't slept well, right?
And they've got that, it's been able to get that data.
Run that over millions of data points and data sets. And imagine if we removed 1 in 5 heart attacks from the system because we detected them before they happen. transformative. You'll have people breathing into smartphones, just listening to their breath and going, oh, you've got the flu or tuberculosis or whatever, get to a doctor, rather than needing a mobile testing. So the upside's incredible. The downsides are things we have to be really, really careful about.
For me, there's two things. One, I mean, this isn't new. I mean, you get the Luddites who smashed the loom and that because, took my job, kind of a vibe back in the day. But the difference here, I think,
don't think they described it as a vibe too, may I say, the Luddites. The Luddites, that was a vibe.
Not the Luddites.
I've got that Luddite vibe about me.
I'm not a man with a great vocabulary.
No, but you're right, absolutely. Centuries go, yeah.
Historically, this is another sort of a great change up in that was sort of an automation step there as well. This is just another very big step change. But for me, the difference is that the argument is always this technology or new technology creates new jobs.
Yeah.
This, I struggle personally to see the new jobs other than at a very skilled, absolute upper echelon. But if you've got 30% of the world's jobs in the transport sector, and that's one of the potentially easier things to automate, trains, buses, trucks, whatever, I don't know how you reskill people as quickly as the technology is introduced.
When I get in my keynote, I give an example of Klarna, or a buy now, pay later platform. Okay. And if anyone has used the Commonwealth Bank in Australia for buy now, pay later, you're probably using Klarna, which runs in 100 plus countries around the world, 150 million customers. They took 2/3 of their call center load, the work of 700 people normally, and assigned it to a GPT. When the stats came in, this thing, average answer time and average call time dropped from 11 minutes to 2 minutes.
Wow.
Because when you got the GPT on the line, the GPT didn't need to, as if you ring a call center, you're not going to get the same person you spoke to last time.
Yeah, that's right.
The first thing they do is, can I put you on hold for a couple of seconds while I familiarise myself with your file?
Yeah.
You can go and have dinner and come back. And it's not their fault. They've got all this sort of stuff to go through, starting this case from scratch.
Yeah.
The AI just comes in knowing everything that's happened, right?
And it speaks any language.
This was in 35 plus languages. Number of repeat follow-up calls needed dropped by 25%, estimated at, say, $40 million. Now, in the first instance, when you put that in and you keep your very best call center people, they'll love it because they're then solving really difficult, thorny problems, right? The fun ones, rather than the have you turned it off and turned it back on again sort of thing, which is 90% of their load. But yeah, first of all, the people who get taken out by that technology, I don't know where they go. And secondly, the fourth or fifth generation of those things, even the best human call center operators, quite possibly aren't going to be augmented by or competing with that sort of technology. This could be a technological wave that's wide enough and deep enough to break that previous paradigm of it creates more jobs than it displaces. We have to wait and see.
Yeah.
One thing I do know is the thought that some people say that that'll happen, and then the risk for us is we'll just get bored because the AI will be creating so much wealth and we'll just be sitting around writing poetry and all.
Yeah.
That's,
which is boring.
One, writing poetry is boring. Two, that's not going to happen.
No.
Right? The fact that the thought that the bosses won't just go, well, we're just going to melt you down for pap if needed.
But isn't that the fundamental basis of that book, Sapiens, right? It's essentially that it's not that. It's that we become fundamentally redundant to a great degree, right? Like, where is the purpose? And we all need that. So what do we replace that 9 to 5 Monday through Friday thing with? Poetry, maybe.
Yeah, but I think in the shorter term it'll be more us being augmented by those technologies to make us more productive and generate more.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to be given days and months off. Yeah, you could see that move to the 4-day work week and all that sort of stuff that people say works quite well. There could be a bit of that going on, but I don't see, benevolent corporations just going, no, mate, just stay at home. We'll just keep paying you because we've got so much money here in the money box now. We don't know what to do with it. I don't see that happening.
Yeah, not certain. I mean, it's interesting though, isn't it? Because I know, like Copilot, for example, the Microsoft one, that they haven't seen the uptake in this region specifically that they want to see. They've seen significantly larger uptake in China, and maybe Japan as well to a certain extent. I was actually hearing this from them the other day in here, actually in Sydney, in North Sydney, their office. But so you got to assume that, like, as much as there's the talk, there's the buzz, and you've given good examples of how corporations are changing processes. The end user consumer interaction with it, I think, is still trying to find its kind of.
So this is one of the things in my keynote that I'm going into, because normally the audiences I speak to at these sort of things are probably a little bit less au fait with the technology fundamentally than some people in the audience are going to be tomorrow. Now, the people in the sales part of it and the marketing part of this conference are probably still fairly early on. But you will have some hardcore coders and developers.
Rude, but yeah, you're pretty right.
But you'll have some hardcore coders and developers in there who aren't as excited to see what you can do on ChatGPT.
Yeah.
But when you start, I've looked at a few, like the Klarna call center use case. IAG, the insurer, is trying to develop a tool that can tell the difference between AI-generated and authentic images, because the problem now is we've gone through that period of how easy it is that if you're involved in a car crash, you can just upload a couple of photos and your claim is started from there.
Right, yeah, okay.
Well, you could now upload a completely fake photo, or you could upload a photo that polishes up the bit that suggests, actually, you were hit on the side, mate, not the front. I think this was your fault. So they've got to be able to work out how to stop AI images or AI-altered images being part of the claims process.
Yeah.
Right? There's a model out there that people are testing now that runs through a Google GPT platform and something called UJet, which is a call center customer management platform. At the moment, if you want to listen in on calls in a call center for training purposes, they say this might be recorded for training purposes. Yes. There's no way more than 5% of all calls are listened to in an organization. You just don't have the time, right? And when they're listened to by an individual who sits there charging decent money for an hour to analyze a single call.
Yeah.
Imagine instead if you're running a GPT across all the calls made in a system, and you're getting instant feedback on which calls are taking longer than they should, which ones are getting the company message right, which ones are misquoting policy, not to then go and rain on those, but to give the people working in your call center real-time, accurate feedback as though they had a personal mentor sitting there going, that was great, you didn't need to get all those details the second time round, or I think you got that policy wrong strictly, that applies in Australia but not in Europe, you'll need to go back and do blah, blah. You're suddenly going from people starting on their first day to being really competent members of that call center in a couple of days, as opposed to weeks or months. That sort of training platform.
Until you don't need them at all, because
exactly. Yeah. But there's one guy I'm talking about tomorrow. There's the digital. Come on, Mark Van Ryman. The digital. Something or other. It's that time of day.
Nailed it.
But Mark has over the years the digital speaker. Over the years, Mark's written about 5 million words on various thoughts on technology and the future. So he's created a digital twin of himself. Right? He's used an off-the-wall avatar system, voice modulator, and a bespoke GPT. He's fed 5 million words of his own thoughts into that.
Yeah, okay.
You can now get a subscription to his digital twin. You can ask it a question in any of 30 different languages about technology, the future, digital transformation, etc. His digital twin will answer that question with a 95% plus accuracy map onto what he would have said if you asked him yourself.
Bloody hell.
So imagine in big organizations where you in your position, you're not going to get half an hour with the CFO, right? The CFO does not have enough time to give you half an hour to pitch an idea. Pitch your idea to the virtual CFO. He'll give you some feedback. Pitch it back again. Feedback, boom, boom. And by the time the CFO finally gives you 30 minutes of their time, the thing they're seeing is the 5th or 6th iteration of your idea that's been massaged and basically co-created by the CFO.
Yeah.
The CFO is signing off on that now, because rather than them coming to you first one going, yeah, great idea, mate, but fuck off, it's going to take you years to come back, or no, that sort of access to digital versions of people, or great academics in the world, and then they're the person who's the tutor for their own course as well, because you've just fed every article he's ever written on Shakespeare into his own digital twin. And now you're sitting down with Professor Smith there on your phone and asking him anything you want about Hamlet or Macbeth or whatever.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Oh, look, and similar, I mean, we're working on something internally ourselves at the moment. We're creating the first focus voice. So you put your content in and it spits out so that the communications coming out are consistent, right?
There you go.
There's a voice of the company.
Because this sounds it's so much like the real. It's incredible. It doesn't, I never would have guessed until I put my hand through him and it came out the other side.
Yeah. And I'm actually on a beach.
Good luck to you.
But that's the thing, in our business, we're trying to help businesses essentially get ahead through the use of tech, right? And increasingly, the conversation is how do we help businesses utilize AI to get better at business outcomes? And I feel like, it still seems hard to quite grasp what the opportunity is there. And I think that's what a lot of people here are talking about too, right? Is where's the actual business opportunity with AI right now?
For me, it comes back to the perceived usefulness and the perceived ease of use and all this. There's a whole bunch of, but it really it requires a change of behavior first, right? To actually not default. It's a change of habits, I guess, in a lot of ways, right?
And I think one thing that I get from talking to people is you've got to resist the temptation to see another organization that have some sexy, shiny toy and just going, my God, we have to have that.
Yeah.
Right? Let's just shoehorn that into our business, whatever it takes.
Yeah.
You have to be wise enough to be able to look inside at your own business and your own function and your own challenges and go, okay, what's our pain point? Okay, that's what we want to deal with. Too many people in our registration process get to this point and then drop out or whatever.
Yeah.
What's the AI solution to that? Find the problem and then look out rather than looking out and try and drag a solution into a problem you may well not have.
Yeah.
That's a consistent theme today is talk about the business, not the product. Talk about the problem, not the product. And that's exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you're putting some bounds around the problem, because otherwise it is just this broad concept, right?
But of all the things, the thing that excites me most with these things is the work people are starting to do, and I think it's going to become easier and easier to do in your own bespoke GPTs.
Yes.
Where
absolutely.
you wall them off from the rest of the net. They're not just roaming around the internet making up all sorts of hallucinations.
Yeah.
Like
They're
Minter
going around
Ellison,
their own network making the hallucinations.
but Minter Ellison, like largest law firm in Australia, has created their own bespoke GPT.
Oh, I mean, law is a great example for, the amount of...
It's language.
Like,
Law is
absolutely.
pure language. These really smart kids, first or second year out of UNSW, are getting paid $95,000 a year to basically go down to the law library and look a few things up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's an absolute end of life job, right? That is not happening for much longer.
Mate, I honestly am challenged to think what the business model for big law becomes, because you're running one of those firms.
Yeah.
You currently bring in 100 kids at the start of the year, and you're bringing in those 100 because 20 years from now, 2 of them will be partners.
So how do you become a partner then?
Exactly.
When you're not,
Another 3 will be heads of... 95 of them will have dropped by the wayside.
Yeah.
Somewhere as soon as 6 months.
Yeah.
So why don't you just bring in the 2 who are going to be partners? We've got no idea who those
That's
2
right,
are.
yeah.
That's why
And how do
we
you
bring
become that
we
without-
bring in the 100
Yeah.
and put them down this funnel.
Yeah.
Now, if my phone can give better legal advice, prepare a better brief than those 100 can on their first day, what do the 100 do in the period of time they get to the point? It's really interesting.
I think accounting is a very similar thing as well.
Yeah.
I mean, ultimately, it's just another language, just maths, basically. It's. I know. It just comes back to that whole 2 things that sort of stand out from this conversation. One is the future of the future value that humans can add against that alternative, and for how long it's a combined sort of we have our place and so is that. The next one is what does truth look like in a world that's full of all the things you talked about, the video, the falsified photos, etc. And I don't know what happens in a post-truth society where you don't know whether you can trust anything you see.
Yeah.
I guess pretty weird, pretty quick.
Oh, yeah, mate. Some of the deep fake stuff is like the old...
Yeah.
Remember the old Access Hollywood tape? Donald Trump just going, I just grab him by the pussy. I was on her like a... If that came out today, he would just say, it's clearly not me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I saw Kurt Cobain talking about how Nickelback was the greatest band of the 90s the
Yeah,
other day.
yeah.
So, I mean,
Yeah. Now, he might have been onto something, but... That is the greatest travesty of anything I've heard. I never thought we should just pull it all out from the wall, but right now we should pull it out from the wall
We're just gonna
and pour Diet
burn
Coke
it
on
and walk
it.
away.
If that's what people are... Oh,
It was pretty
Nickelback.
funny. Yeah, it's just Kurt Cobain just talking about how Nickelback has the greatest voice of our generation, the greatest band of the 90s, and Chad Kroeger has the best hair I've ever seen.
Oh.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. It was really well done though. Like it was so convincing. I mean, obviously not because he's dead by then, but you get the point.
Yeah, well, you never. Then again, maybe he said that, then just walked out of the room.
Yeah, and that was the end of it.
I'm done.
2 minutes later, there's a loud bang.
This is my last will and testimony.
Oh yeah,
Too soon? Yeah, too soon.
It's been 30 years. It's going to be all right at this point.
So we've talked a lot about business at the personal level. I mean, people's personal information, security, privacy. Are you worried?
Oh yeah, it's so. Yeah, I am. I'm worried, absolutely. But it is ironic that we've already been on this 15-year journey of people just giving away all their information for 5 extra gold coins in a game or whatever. And so, and the other thing I find really interesting with that, and this goes back more to the quantum piece, that what will happen when quantum comes on is because we can then factorize massive numbers really quickly, which we can't do at the moment, the mathematical models that underpin a lot of the security we now use, things called the RSA algorithm and similar.
Yeah.
You're nodding. I have no idea.
They're the reason why
Yeah.
I can buy something on a credit card from you, and people looking in can't see my credit card details and things like that.
All the cryptographic stuff. Yeah.
Essentially what it does is, if I gave you a big number, say it was 20 digits long, and told you this only has two factors, they're both in the tens or hundreds of billions, just two numbers. Can you work out what those factors are? The only way you can factorize a massive number is try and divide it by 2. Try and divide it by 3. Try and divide it by 5. There's not enough time in the universe to factorize a massive number that's only got a couple of factors. A quantum computer could do it in seconds.
Yeah.
So the algorithms, those security cryptographs, fall away. Now, along with quantum will come a new series of algorithms.
Right,
It'll be fine. But the interesting thing is, if I steal a really hot value data pack off you today, right? South Korean military bases around the world and all that information, and I can't crack it at the moment, but I just keep it in a cold vault, and 10 years from now we get a quantum computer and we create all these sexy new protective algorithms. This little thing I've had in my cold vault for 10 years is not protected by one of those. This is an old lock and key. So once quantum does come along, there'll be all these new algorithms, but we'll be able to take quantum systems to smash open things that people stole years ago and they couldn't crack, but they thought were worth keeping their hands on because one day I'll be able to crack this.
It's terrifying. There's essentially going to be an arms race between how you encrypt and safeguard good data and how you can crack it open, and they're just going to keep...
But what's going to happen? Yeah, but the moment we create a quantum computer, that arms race starts in the same way there's an arms race now. But you get a back window of things you stole under the old security system. So if I go and change all the locks in my house now to thumbprint and retina scan, but I leave 3 windows that are just... You could pick them with, a 20-cent coin if you wanted. And I suddenly go, you can't come in the front door now, buddy. I need a thumb scan and retina. You go, yeah, cool, okay. And then someone invents a 20-cent coin. You go around the side of the house, you're going to break in the window.
Does that mean, like, if someone's sitting on whether or not there really was a second shooter on the grassy knoll with JFK kind of thing, we're finally going to find that out?
Yeah.
Good, finally.
Yeah, the big questions, that and whether,
But it keeps me
whether
up at night.
Nickelback really was the best band of the early 90s.
The answer is yes. Yes, they were. All right, cool. Adam, you've been so awesome. We better not keep you for any longer. We've got people coming up every half hour.
Absolute
you're
pleasure,
an absolute
guys.
champion. Thank you
Keep
so
up
much.
the great work. It is one of my very favourite podcasts.
That podcast, which name I definitely know.
Asterix. Read the small print.
Love your work. Thank you, Adam.
Hey,
mate.
pleasure,
You're a
boys.
champion. Thanks, mate.
We appreciate it.
Great stuff, mate.
Yeah, cool.
Thanks, buddy.
I'm going to be in the keynote tomorrow, and I won't heckle because you're nice.
No, do, mate. It's going to be really interesting because finding the pick level first.
You noticed, like,
with the
watching
broadest
from
route.
afar, how Brendan's sitting there like this. Just
Yeah,
this little
I'm
schoolgirl.
smitten. I'm smitten. Leave me alone.
Come here, Brendan.
Oh, yeah. Can I get a photo?
Absolutely.
There you go. Should I get... my wife will think I'm awesome.
You've got to start
Finally.
working out again. You've really let yourself go.
Yeah. There you go.